Yep.
Sorry for the late. We had to establish a quorum. We have a quorum now, so welcome. Welcome to the October 16th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting, Tweed New Haven Airport. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 4:08. Thank you for attending. First order of business is to approve the minutes from last month. Oh, great. Is there a motion to approve? Linda, second. Second, Serena. Any comments, suggestions, corrections? Online? In the room? Great. So no response. So I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes? Online?
Aye.
Aye.
In the room? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. We're going to skip around for a quick second in terms of the chairman's report, which is next. Let me just stop for a second. If you have noticed or if you have not noticed, Ken Dagliari is not online, nor is he in person. Do you take it for a spot? Ken's having some health concerns right now. I'd just like to take a quick second to acknowledge Ken's absence and take a moment of silence to wish Ken best wishes. So if you just don't mind. Great, thank you very much. If we receive an update on Ken's condition and with his permission, we'll send out a communication, an update on his health condition. On a more celebratory note, we want to make an announcement and say congratulations to Milena. Milena was married this past weekend. So hello, Mrs. I don't know your last name, Milena.
McDonald, the new one, yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations. I heard it was a fabulous event, and I was actually watching Channel 8 News on Monday morning, and Milena's husband, and you can give more detail on your husband if you choose to, but I was watching Channel 8 News, and they were talking about a former employee of the news station, and they flashed a picture of the employee getting married, right? And they were talking about how beautiful the wedding was, and it was a fabulous event, and so on and so forth. And I learned later that that was Milena that I was looking at on television. Right? So, well, congratulations, Milena.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
To you and your husband.
Thank you.
In terms of an executive director's report, I don't have anything specifically to add. We are going to change up the agenda just slightly, just because we have a couple board members that need to drop off in short order. So we're going to move up, if you don't mind, the reports and action items, the resolution 616. We're going to move that up to now, so we have a voting quorum, if you don't mind. Any questions, any concerns with that adjustment? Okay, great. In terms of resolution 616, Title 6 Policy Statement and Plan for Compliance, October 16th, 2024. I will read it, it's short enough. Whereas Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987, Section 520 of the Airport and Airways Improvement Act of 1982, and other related authorities require assurance from public agencies receiving federal financial assistance that there is compliance with provisions therein with regards to non-discrimination, whether programs are federally funded or not. Whereas the required assurances extend to surrounding communities and customers who use the airport, and to tenants, contractors, and concessionaires providing an activity, service, or facility at the airport. Whereas the Tweed New Haven Airport Authority is a recipient of federal financial assistance and wishes to reaffirm its compliance with the non-discrimination requirements stated in federal law cited above, whereas the authority has drafted a Title VI policy and plan for compliance that reaffirms its understanding of the federal obligations and reestablishes its procedure and assuring compliance there within. And whereas any substantive modifications to the Title VI statement and plan for compliance shall be reviewed by the board. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board of directors hereby adopts a Title VI policy statement attached hereto. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Okay, fantastic. Any comments?
Just
Yeah,
a little
Tom?
background, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Comments, questions, go.
We are not the only airport that's doing this. It's throughout the entire country. The FAA is just reassuring that we have a non-discrimination policy, and they will not approve the plan until the policy is signed. So once the policy is signed, we'll get the plan approved and post that on our website. And I want to thank Elena and Tim, who did great work with FAA on putting this together.
And that statement, that the entire policy statement is in your packet. Any other questions, comments, statements?
So can I just clarify, so are airports around the country adopting virtually the same statement, or are there, there are variations across airports?
It's mostly, I'm sorry.
No, that's correct. Go ahead.
It's mostly similar. FAA has set and given a lot of guidance and reference. And as I said, Tim and Melena work closely with civil rights at FAA. So many of the airports have very similar policy. You'll see in the plan, it just comes out with different demographics and things, but a lot of it is standard in terms of the headings and things.
I would think the language is pretty standard as well.
Small comment. I didn't see it in the packet, but maybe just send it around so we can take a look at it.
Yeah.
Like it sounded good.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? All right, one more time. Is there a motion? Linda? Is there a second?
Second.
Fantastic. Second. All in favor online?
Aye.
In the room?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, got that order, that piece of out of the agenda. All right, executive director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 action items from the last meeting. Melena had made the necessary corrections to the minutes and has posted that, and also distributed the economic impact analysis presentation. Just a few items on my list. Yesterday, the Environmental Stewardship Committee met and discussed the noise website update. EnviroSuite demo was a brief one. You'll have later in today's meeting, you'll have a pretty thorough, detailed demonstration, an update on the sound insulation program, the recap of the air traffic control meeting, which you'll also get some further detail later when Tom gives his report, as well as air quality monitoring and the rental car and electric chargers update. The PFC application, we're in the final stages of preparing that. We will have that ready for the November board, along with the associated resolutions necessary for that. The Issuers Council, the agreement is under legal review and be forwarded to the Issuers Bond Council when available. Our CIP meeting with the FAA was held on October 7th, I should say our initial one. The CIP is being revised and updated. But we also have another meeting we're trying to establish with the FAA to determine what funds may be available for FY25. There have been no new projects added to the CIP from last year. They're just simply moving the timeframes around based on available FAA funding. We addressed the Title VI. The statistics are in your packet, and for July, claimants were up 21%. For the 12-month period, they're up 11%, and for the 12-month period also, we had a total of 521,091 claims. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Fantastic. Finance Committee report. Serena,
Do you want?
Hi, I'm,
Tom?
Tom is going to do the report for the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena.
Thank you, Serena. In the airfield account, the revenues for August, excluding lessee subsidy, 165,453 came in 19,557 over budget. The actual subsidy was under budget by $128,004, and excluding the $332,448 subsidy year to date, revenues of $132,183 are better than budget by $57,008. Expenses in the airfield account for August, actual expenses came in under budget by $108,446, and year-to-date expenses of $464,631 are below budget by $197,460. In the admin account, the revenues for August were below budget by $31,056. Year-to-date revenues, though, of $113,825 are above budget by about $25,025. Expenses in admin for the month were $43,075 under budget. Year-to-date, the expenses are slightly over budget by $1,340. The actual net results for the admin fund for August was a negative $4,084, but year-to-date, we're still up $8,381. And on the balance sheet, the fund balance at the end of this period is $286,214, and overall liabilities and fund balances are $1,250,873.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Serena. Jeremy, Lisi's report.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can start with the lessee's report. To begin, I guess we would like to, as promised, we're going to be joined by our partners at EnviroSuite. I believe we have Robert, maybe a few others from the team. Waiting room. Robert Franklin. So while we're waiting for them to join, we've been exploring ways that we can provide community benefits focused on the areas that are of most concern to the community. And one of those has been noise related to aircraft operations here at the airport. And so we did quite a bit of networking and research on, who are the experts in this field, and how can we bring their expertise to our community here. And we ended up with entering into agreement with EnviroSuite. And so today we have Rob DeFranzo, and I'm not sure if you have anyone else joining you today. But if you want to go ahead and kind of introduce yourself, and I know you have a presentation to share with us to kind of give a little bit of a background on what EnviroSuite does and what are some of the products that we'll be integrating here to Tweed here in the coming weeks ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to have you put Greg Bracci in as well as a panelist. I just switched over to panelist when you sent me that invite. I see Greg there now.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. I'll hand it over to you guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to the board. We're very excited to be here today. As was just mentioned, we're going to take a couple of minutes to just showcase some of the tools that we have and how we're going to partner with the airport and the airport authority as well. But I did want to just take a brief moment just to introduce myself and introduce EnviroSuite. So my name is Greg Bracci. I'm the Vice President of EnviroSuite. We work with airports globally, but certainly a lot in the Northeast as well, partnering on aviation noise and community engagement. So as Rob's going to kind of showcase here today, there's going to be two different systems that we're going to show. Some of it's going to be down at the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, so some of the airports around there. And then also we've been doing work at Westchester, White Plains for a number of years as well. EnviroSuite has been doing this and partnering with airports for over 40 years. We're one of the pioneers when it comes to community engagement and aviation noise. And so I'm going to pass it over to Rob. We're certainly both more than willing to answer some questions, and we look forward to an exciting partnership.
Thanks, guys. We're going to look at the community-facing tool first. This is our web track at Westchester County, like Greg stated. You can see right away, you have the tracks and you have the noise monitors are lit up on the screen. Those are the circles you see there with the decibel levels in them. So this is like the community would come in here, and they would place themselves on the map, and they could really see what affects them. And then if you have a portable noise monitor or a fixed noise monitor, that's going to show up as the circles that you're seeing on the screen. So I'm just going to do a little bit of the functionality. If I click on this aircraft, you can see this arrival coming in. I have some information about it here. There's a slider on the bottom. On the bottom left is where we load up the time range. So you can do just current flights. I've gone to historical mode to load up yesterday's data. That allows me to grab this slider and kind of advance the time frame back and forth as I see fit. So we don't have to wait this out. There's also an option here to replay things faster instead of 1 second per 1 second. You can really speed it up. But I'm going to grab the slider and I'm going to put this aircraft, as you see, it's going to approach these noise monitors. And you'll see what happens as it does that, is that it's really going to light up and it's actually going to change the shape. Okay, so when it changes the shape, that means you've now entered into what we call a noise event. So we talked about the definition of a noise event a little bit on Friday with some of the guys. And basically what that means is it's over a certain level, let's say 65 decibels for a certain number of seconds. And that ends up being a noise event. The system is smart enough to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and match that noise event to this aircraft. So it's now assigned this noise to this aircraft. So now I can click on the noise monitor and I can see information about that event that we're talking about. So you can see it's a 19-second event. The current noise level in the LEQs that we're looking at is 66.9 at this moment, but the LMAX for that 19-second event was actually 71 decibels right there. Okay, so then if I grab the slider, you can actually see what's going to happen. It's going to go on to the next noise monitor. Now I've clicked the first noise monitor, so I still have the waveform here as well. But as I approach the next one, you see that one then goes square because now there's an event there. And then on to the third one, we have a third event at that monitor. You can see they're kind of getting louder as well as the aircraft gets lower, which makes sense. You do have your altitude information right in here. So I mentioned about how they can place themselves on the map to see how they are affected. So I'm going to do the same thing with our same flight example here. There's a house icon in the corner here. You click that one. It gives me the option to type in the address, or if I don't even have the address, I can just click on the map approximately where I want to analyze. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, locate on map. And I'll zoom in pretty close to the park next to the noise monitor, and I'll just place the house right over here. Okay. So now I could go ahead and do my point of closest approach to find out, well, how close did this aircraft come to my house? So while I'm in this window for this aircraft, you see there's a bunch of different buttons here. So I'm going to click what we have is the PCA button, which is the one that looks like a house. And that brings up this triangulation that I spoke of, point of closest approach. And there's a couple different values on here to pay attention. First, you have the triangulation itself. And this is going to constantly update as I play it back. So you're always getting that distance between the house and the aircraft right there on your triangle. Okay. But the true point of closest approach, when was it the absolute closest to the house? You don't have to just eyeball that by putting the aircraft near it. That static information is always right here. So at 2:02:33 is when it was the closest to the house, and this is how close it was to the house at that time. So that's kind of a lot of self-service abilities for the community member to come in here and have a look at things. You can see that we're showing the tail of the track of the aircraft. If you wanted to show the entire track, there's a button here for that as well, show static track. I can click that one. You can see what exactly this one did. You can see it came from way up north. Yep, and then over here, and it came in. So that's your static track ability on the individual track. Another button of relevance that we have here is the ability to report the aircraft. So if the community member wants to complain about it, they can click here, and it gives me the option: do you want to report that specific aircraft, or do you want to make a general complaint? I'm going to say, yes, I want this specific aircraft. That's going to automatically launch the complaint form. Once again, this is Westchester's complaint form. And you see we have the nice logo on there. They have that aircraft statue out front, which is great. And then there's a little disclaimer, all of this customizable to what Westchester wanted. And then the fields are here as well. Because I did say that specific aircraft, you see it automatically populated that aircraft info into the form. So they don't have to go typing it in that it was that specific one. Okay. I think at this point, I don't want to go too far on one product, so I wanted to show you a little bit of the internal product as well. I did want to mention that since we zoomed out to the extents here, that we do have the radar data out to 40 miles, and that's a configurable setting. 40 is kind of generally what we go with, but that is a configurable thing. So the other product, which would be the internal product, is the Noise Desk product.
Rob,
Yep.
hi, question here, Robert Reed. So question, does the system have the ability to library aircraft? If a neighbor wants a particular aircraft that they believe is constantly above a certain decimal point or flying too low, can the system, and they put the complaint form in, will the system be able to save that complaint, and can they add that as to like a library where they can say, well, it's the same aircraft flying coming in from the same distance, the same location, same trajectory over the past 30 days. Can they log it and track?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't, in the WebTrack front end product, you don't really have any review of existing complaints functionality. That exists on the internal side. So on the internal side, you're going to have this browser that's going to list all of the complaints. So I could get into showing you that, and I think that may answer that question. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's fine. I just envision a neighbor saying, you know what, I live on Townsend Avenue, and here's my address, and I'm in the flight path, and for the past 30 days that I've experienced X, and it seems to be this one particular aircraft coming in, and they want to log it and they want to send it to us. So that's, in terms of complaints and reporting, I'm thinking, that's that's one option that we may see.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can certainly, in the internal tool, you can go ahead and look at all that person's complaints, and then you could say, okay, let's see which aircraft the system assigned to that complaint, because that's what's happening behind the scenes. After the person makes the complaint on WebTrack, it then goes into your database, and then you would come to this product, and you would say, okay, let me look at my complaints. It defaults to the operations screen, so I'll just give you a little description of that. I have one day, October 11th, loaded up for JFK right now. So there's a bunch of operations here, and we can look at all the details of those. But I'm going to jump over to this inquiry section. Oh, log me out. That can happen if I leave the window open too long. Okay, so now I'm over in the inquiries area here. So if I look at, I can sort by any of these columns that I need to. So if I sort by the inquirer, you can see we have a lot of repeat callers here for sure. So you kind of, to answer your question, is you can see that each one of these complaints has a flight box next to it, which means it's been correlated to a flight. So if this person's complaining every day, or in this case, they're complaining every 10 minutes, then you could certainly look at the trends here and find out if it's the same aircraft every time. If I just do this checkbox, it's going to zoom in on the complaint, which is the blue dot, and the aircraft that was in question. So I rest the mouse, and it gives me that aircraft info. It also gives me that PCA info as well on the fly, which is nice. A lot of the same functionality that's in the community facing. You don't lose any functionality in here. It certainly has everything you have in the community product and more. So that's just checking the box. So then if I clicked on the flight button, it would go into analysis of just this operation. If I click on the caller's name, it takes me into the complaint itself, and I can see things like the comments and stuff. And then this is the operation itself here. I can go on and on. I don't know how deep in we want to get, but from this point on, we'd start to get into some heavy details. I'll go back to the community screen, and if we have any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Is there any questions that anyone has? I mean, the idea behind this is certainly transparency. You know, you'll see the noise data, you'll see the flight track data. It's available. People can provide information. You can provide an inquiry or a complaint relative to a specific flight, or you can just file a general complaint. So some people in some communities will just file it, not necessarily against a specific flight, but they'll just want to file a general complaint into it. You can do that as well. And then everything is linked together.
Robert Reed again.
Yeah.
What's the delay? I mean, if a neighbor goes into the system, what's the delay that they're seeing in terms of the flight patterns?
Yeah, it's a great question.
30, what?
It's a great question. So it's a configurable, the delay is configurable. Most airports do around a 5-minute delay. And the reason for that is that it's due to the track building and all the information that's coming in from FAA and other radar sources, along with the noise monitor data that's coming into the system. So that's the standard configuration. Some airports choose to go as 15 minutes or longer. It's really something that depends on the local situation. But it's very rare that anyone does quicker than 5 minutes. And that's because there's constant flight track information that's coming in. And when you go shorter than 5 minutes, then the track building isn't as complete and you're showing sometimes incomplete information.
Okay. And my last question, and if you could share, if you choose not to share, has the system ever been compromised? Since you've been running it in any other areas across the country?
No, it's a great question. With cybersecurity, and obviously, when you're talking about citizens' information and privacy, it's the utmost importance to EnviroSuite. Being a global organization, we have to adhere to GDPR, which is a European regulation around cybersecurity. We have a cybersecurity team that's in place that's what they do for the organization. So it is something that's paramount to us as an organization and as a company. And we make sure that in many, many aspects of the system that you don't have the ability to see what's going on. And this also, I think, dovetails into the previous question around this is a page that anyone in the community can go to. And because of that, there is no ability for the community to see who else has complained, what other names, anything like that. All of that is completely hidden. It's all, only in the back end of the system for complete privacy purposes. And no, we have not been compromised.
Okay, that was what
questions about. Yeah, sorry. a long-winded way to get to the end answer, but yes.
And I'm sorry, but another question: is there a way to compare comparable airports? So can you compare Tweed to White Plains or White Plains to Westchester, and see the complaints or any of the data that is comparable to those two, to those individual airports that are being looked at?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. So obviously, some airports choose to publish the complaint information. EnviroSuite works with, I think it's about 65 airports now just in the United States, all varying sizes from GA straight through to large hub commercial. What some of our clients do is they'll work together where we'll connect them to some of the other airports when they want to have conversations about specific, maybe non-public information as far as complaint numbers and things like that. But typically most airports do publish complaint information and complaint numbers. If you go down the coast into Washington, D.C., Reagan National and in Dulles, they actually have a dashboard that they publish monthly of every complaint that they get. So there are some options there when you do it, but certainly conversations around like-minded airports, but also airports with similar communities. And so you can see Rob's bringing up, this is a public webpage that's available for anybody. And this is from Reagan National, where you can go in and you can actually see, again, you can see it's all anonymized. So even the top 10 individuals in the bottom right, there's no names. There are no addresses here. They just do it by zip code. So you can kind of see where the complaints are coming from. So there's a lot of flexibility and power in the system. Here at Tweed New Haven, we certainly plan on partnering with you guys to work as we roll this out. Some of the things you're going to decide are going to be local for you and your community. Some of them might be best practices for airports across the country or even globally.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions that we can answer?
I have one question.
No, sure. Linda, sorry.
I have one question. This is Linda Hennessy. So how do you monitor the complaints? How do you forward them to the appropriate people to respond to complaints? Or how is that system?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first page Rob showed, which is a public web page, anybody can go in and they can submit a complaint in. That information automatically goes into the database, and that was the second system Rob shows. So everything is tied together. Also, the airport employee can hand enter a complaint. So if there's a phone number and someone calls up, you can actually, enter a complaint manually into the system. But the system is designed to keep all the data forever. And so this really gets an understanding of when and if there are either changes in flight paths and or changes in operation types, things like that. You'll get to have an understanding of what's going on. And then also what is very typical is that when you start to get a new complainer, and there's ways in the system to see, okay, has someone complained before or not? If you have a new complainer, that's a lot of times when the airport will reach out to that person to have a conversation to talk about, whether it's, the operation of the airport driven by weather or other reasons of what's happening, and maybe answer some of their questions. Versus there are some people that will choose to complain in a large number, in a large volume, and some of those people just want to, if you will, log their complaint, and they're not expecting a callback. So there's a lot of ability in the system, but it's all automated, certainly to minimize staff time of manually handling the data and really focusing on engaging with the community.
Thank you.
Rich Jacobs has a question.
Yeah, thanks. Since you've shown several screens, can you just go back to the screen that if I were a resident and I had a noisy plane overhead, what screen would I see? This is what I would see?
This is exactly what you'd see. There'll be a link from the main airport webpage onto here. You can go into here, and then this is where you can drop your house. As Rob went through that exercise, what a lot of community members do is they'll actually type their address in, so their house will be there. So they'll always be getting that, what aircraft is near me, what's the point of closest approach of that aircraft. But this is the main screen that the community will be interfacing with.
And the system's making the inference that based on the location, it's determining which was the nearest flight, therefore the source of the sound.
It's actually quite sophisticated, the algorithms that we've developed. So it's not just based on distance, because certainly, different aircraft type are going to have different noise profiles. So it's a combination of aircraft type, distance, elevation, altitude, all those things factor into it. And then the aircraft, and then that's when Rob kind of showed when the noise monitor goes from a circle to a square, that's where the system actually correlated the noise did come from that aircraft, and that is the noise level.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And very standard as we roll this out to the community. More than happy for Rob and myself to be in person and kind of showing and answer questions to the community, do a couple of workshops to make sure everyone understands how to use the system. It's very, very widely used. It's been decades of our tools being used by communities that we've actually developed some of this technology in there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Greg and Rob. Appreciate your time. Just a few more notes. We will be as Greg mentioned, we will be having at least one community meeting similar to the meeting we had regarding air traffic control, Q&A. So we'll have a similar type of opportunity for community members to attend in person, and we'll have EnviroSuite staff on site to demonstrate the site built specifically for Tweed. So we will be communicating what the date and time will be on social media in the coming weeks, once we have some more time to coordinate with Greg and Rob. But we will look to do that hopefully by the, I think we talked about November timeframe. So that'll be coming very soon. And just to reiterate as well, you know, as part of our agreement with EnviroSuite, we did purchase 2 portable monitors to get this program off the ground. But, you know, we view this as a long-term commitment. So over a period of, you know, years, we'll look to expand that footprint to, you know, give a better understanding of what the noise impact is, the true noise impact is on the community, and how we can best manage that. So that's a brief snapshot of the system, and we'll look forward to providing more details in the weeks ahead, and give the community the opportunity to ask questions in person and give a demonstration. All right, with that, I will move on to a few other items on my or on AvPort's lessee report. The ramp rehab project. That is scheduled. We did push that back slightly to start on October 21st. However, we still anticipate to complete that project by the, apologize, the date is escaping me, by the 25th, 24th. So that project will be by the 24th. We are expediting the project a little bit to make sure we don't have any impact on the holiday travel, and there's less of an impact on Avelo flights and downtime on gates. So we've worked to really focus on what the you know, what the focus elements are of that project. So we've been working very closely with Avelo, keeping them in the loop on timelines, and we're currently coordinating with the contractor to get that project starting here next week.
Jeremy, could you just give the board a 30-second review of what that project is?
Sure. So we are doing primarily a mill and overlay, a 2-inch mill and overlay of all 5 gates. And it will be a complete restriping of the ramp to give better layout for Avelo's 737-800s. So we'll be shifting some of the markings a little bit just to reallocate some of that space, and also taking into account with the addition of Breeze, working in, you know, that brings some additional operating needs that we need to address. So for instance, the location of ground equipment with Avelo working by themselves hasn't really been a need to really police that too much. Now we're going to have dedicated parking positions for the ground equipment so that it's in the proper spaces, and then allocation of available space for just other equipment that doesn't get used as frequently. And then just managing better flow of passengers and vehicles around the area. So it's going to really help with, you know, we focus a lot on FOD, foreign object debris, on the airfield. This ramp is at the end of its useful life, so this is going to help mitigate FOD. It's going to give better layout to, you know, daily aircraft operations, and get us, you know, the time that we need till we can transition to the east terminal. So it's not a full depth rehab, but it'll get us to give us the time we need until we're into the new facility.
And again, that's 11/24 completion, or is that 12/24?
11/24. So right before the Thanksgiving holiday. So we are you know, working in lockstep with the contractor to make sure we hit that date. Any other questions on that?
Any other questions? Other questions?
restrooms in the arrivals terminal, coming right along. We got the sign offs for the current phase. We just finished sheetrock and taping, so inspections are passed for that. So we're going to start tiling and installing fixtures here in the next week or so. So that will also be completed early November. So that's looking forward to that. Continue to work, meet weekly with both Avelo and Breeze in preparation for new air service starting on December 10th. Avports will be hosting what we call an ORAT. It's an operational readiness airport transfer exercise. It will be a full-scale exercise involving all of our tenants and stakeholders, just focusing on operational risk mitigation and just working on coordination, communications, making sure everything flows smoothly from the curb to the aircraft, from the departure perspective and vice versa. Working with the city of New Haven on some alternatives to work with, some additional, just make sure the traffic runs smoothly. So we're looking at all fronts to make sure that we're doing everything we can to mitigate impacts on specifically the land side. And then finally, I'll just say there's no material changes on runway terminal projects since last meeting. We're still at 6% of the runway, 30% on the terminal for design. And that concludes my report. I'm sure Tom might have a few items to note in addition to this piece of the LSE report, but that's the conclusion of my report.
Thank you. Tom?
In regards to for the community update, or yeah. And so we had another pretty fun and exciting last month, filled with great meetings, conversations, and partnerships out in the community. And so last month we started off with the awards and annual meeting at the Orange Chamber of Commerce, which was a great way to celebrate the contributions of their local businesses and individuals to the broader Orange community. We were also excited to sponsor the East Haven Rotary Club's Great Golf Ball Drop and Raffle, which is a fantastic way not just to have fun, but to support the East Haven Rotary in its many community service projects. On September 24th, we had an especially incredible day for the second annual Special Olympics Connecticut Plane Pull, which we hosted here at HVN. And which was sponsored by Avelo Airlines, teams from Markham, Guardian Jet, Procyon Benefits, the Coca-Cola Company, WTNH, Laz Parking, and the New Haven Police Department, among so many others, joined over 200 attendees to raise over $47,000 to make a meaningful difference in the lives of Special Olympics athletes. So we thank our special guests, Governor Lamont, who joined us, along with Avelo Airlines CEO Andrew Levy and CEO of Avport Jorge Roberts, and as well as all of our friends, partners, and community members for coming up, showing up, and helping us poll. The last weekend of September, we also sponsored and attended the Connecticut Black Expo at Southern Connecticut State University to promote our air service connectivity and celebrate our Black business culture and community here in Connecticut. We then kicked off October with our air traffic control informational session with our ATC controller, Trent, which was just a great opportunity for us to discuss and answer questions about the nuances of air traffic control, address questions from community members, and then as well introduce, as you all saw today, the EnviroSuite toolkit. And so that, again, just sort of feeds into our goal of just putting more tools and resources in the hands of the community around transparency for local aircraft operations. Just to underline what Jeremy said too, which is our next meeting will target in November, trying to be mindful of the holiday season and travel, where we'll discuss some other upcoming projects, and as well as dive deeper into the EnviroSuite program. We also attended the Connecticut Manufacturing Summit, where we engaged with private sector leaders to showcase how Tweed's air service connectivity fosters job creation and economic growth. On a personal note, I had an opportunity to meet with the founder of a pretty prominent robotics company who emphasized the importance of air service in driving growth and innovation for his company, which was a very neat and exciting conversation to have. On October 3rd, we sponsored and attended the East Haven Police Department's first annual Athletic League golf tournament, which was a great opportunity to meet with and show our support for the dedicated men and women of the East Haven Police Department. The following week, we hosted the Strive program here at HVN, welcoming young adults with disabilities aged 18 to 22 for a hands-on experience navigating the airport. So we thank the Strive program and the Capital Region Educational Council for the opportunity to participate in that meaningful initiative. And we also thank Avelo and TSA for their support in helping us to coordinate that educational experience. Late last week, we also sponsored and attended the Greater New Haven Italian American Heritage Dinner to honor Italian culture, history, and longstanding contributions to the Greater New Haven region. And then just yesterday, we attended the East Haven Chamber of Commerce's Business After Hours, which was hosted at East Haven Public Television. Just another great opportunity to connect with the East Haven business community and learn more about the programming and exciting vision that East Haven Public Television has. So with that, I'll conclude and just sort of tease out what we're looking forward to ahead, which is an employee appreciation dinner for all of the employees here at Avports that just bring their hard work and dedication every single day to the airport. We'll also be sponsoring and attending the New Haven Board of Alders Black and Hispanic Caucus Annual Gala. And then next month, looking forward to attending the Greater New Haven Chamber's Big Connect Expo, the Connecticut Business and Industry Association's annual meeting, and many other community events.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. So any other business, any other comments, announcements? I will make the announcement that there will be a Make-A-Wish event that will be held here on campus tomorrow at 8:30, sponsored by Avelo and Make-A-Wish Foundation. So if you're available, I'm sure any other board member, you're welcome, as a board member, I should say, you're welcome to attend. That's tomorrow at 8:30 here on campus. Yes.
Jeremy did not give his airport manager's airside report.
Oh, we slipped up on that. Sorry, right? Well, we'll reverse track. Okay, so Jeremy, back to you, sir.
No, I'll just very briefly, just didn't want to neglect to address this side of the report. Two items. One is our snow meeting. We did hold our snow meeting on October 10th with our airport tenants and stakeholders. We had a good turnout. Spent at least a couple hours, I think, reviewing the plan in very thorough detail. And that's, I just want to say thank you to Brian Hoffman and the rest of the operations team for not only leading that discussion, but also in advance of the snow season. It's a real team effort. Almost every member of the Avports team, has a hands-on contribution to that, but Brian especially and his team and the maintenance staff, they put in tireless hours. So they're resting up and they're ready to go, and our equipment is ready. And then the last item I wanted to mention was you saw the coverage in the last week regarding the airport's transition to F3 foam, which is BioX fluorine foam. It's an environmentally friendly firefighting foam. It's it's PFAS free, fluorine free, silicone free foam alternative. And that we completed that process the end of September on target with our deadline with DEEP. And that ends the airport's use of all firefighting for suppressing foams that contain PFAS. And we're really excited to meet that goal. This transition was completed off-site and all the trucks were retrofitted. We have 3 vehicles in our fleet, 2 that are in service continuously with 1 backup vehicle. So those were fully serviced and brought back to compliance with deep regulations, and it's a really positive change here at the airport that we should all be proud of. And I'd say thank you to our ops team and with Tom's support in completing that process. And then, you may have seen some additional coverage regarding the potential for PFAS on and around the airport property. And, just want to make sure that it's understood, that according to the EPA and other governmental sources that, PFAS is just something that's everywhere, right? It's in everything, including rainwater. And it's found nationwide, various sources. And, as the, scientists, public health professionals, and government officials continue to develop strategies to reduce the impact, we as, AFPORTS representing the authority, we are, take that very seriously, and we always are trying to work ahead and stay abreast of the required regulations and taking proactive steps to transition to PFAS-free foam. The F3, like I mentioned, is just an example of that. So, we're committed to environmental stewardship, and we take it very seriously, working closely with federal, state, local authorities to ensure we meet these strict regulatory requirements. And we'll continue to conduct all the necessary assessments and design and planning to construction and daily activities. So it's really part of our daily routine to look at all these things. And we have, a really strong support system of professionals helping us navigate that. So appreciate your support, and we are excited to say we have met that requirement at this time. So thank you.
Any predictions from the Farmer's Almanac for this winter?
Well, sometimes less snow is worse because it turns into like a freezing precip. So I don't always equate it to, the inches or feet. It's more just the inclement weather that can just cause more hardship. It's the sleet and the freezing rain that could be more difficult, challenging.
Yeah, but I will say they've purchased 3 pieces of equipment that are huge to support their efforts. There's a sprayer, a plow, and a blower, correct?
Yep.
Very major pieces that are going to be really helpful.
Great. All right, great. Again, that takes us back to other business. I made an announcement. Any other business online? Comments in the room? Seeing none? Public comment, Felipe. Hello, Diana Proto. Can you hear me? Diane Proto?
I'm here. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, thank you for joining us. Name and address, please.
19 Jordan Drive, East Haven, Connecticut, 06513.
Great. Please proceed.
Oh, I don't know what I'm the new terminal manager for AvPorts in New Haven. I've been a part of Tweed since 1981. I'm aging myself a little bit. A lot of the faces here are familiar to me. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to the future, great future for Tweed.
Thank you. Michael Giordano, good afternoon, sir. Name and address.
Sorry, I had some problems technologically here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, my Tweed fam. I'm going to read my script because I have 3 minutes. I want to get it all in. Good afternoon from the Sunshine State. Michael Giordano here in Palm Beach County. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and congratulate Avport's hiring of the previous speaker, Diane Proto Summers. I'd like to tease her a lot about being my first aviation protege 43 years ago. And in many ways, she was. I watched her grow at Pilgrim Airlines from a brand new service agent to the station manager in just a few years. She has served various roles at Tweed since, but mostly in airline station management. I can't think of anyone better to become Tweed's first terminal, gate, and ramp manager. I told her the other day that she and I would have been competing for the job if I had maintained more of a presence in the New Haven area. But all kidding aside, I'm so proud of her and happy for Tweed. I would like to make a suggestion that includes Diane being part of. As a retired air traffic controller and a presence in aviation for over 50 years, as I've mentioned before, I, like most of you, am tickled fancy with the way things have gone at Tweed the last 3 years. However, one thing I've always found in aviation is there's too much reaction to problems instead of proaction. Due to Tweed's limited space on the ramp, what we call a non-movement area, and also in the movement areas, such as the runway and taxiways, every inch of pavement counts. I remember many times working at Boston Center where we had to hold arrivals for lengthy periods of time due to gridlock at LaGuardia and Newark. This was caused when there was no more room at the airport to put airplanes. Currently at Tweed, we only have 3 gates in use at once, and there are times, due to various reasons, delays from mechanicals, weather, and air traffic, for example, that the ramp gets blocked from new arrivals getting to a gate. Granted, it does not happen often, but with the addition of the new airline, it could start happening more frequently. Diane's department should help to alleviate this from happening, but they can only do so much controlling the non-movement area. So this is my suggestion. I think Avport's upper management and Diane should meet with the tower manager, Avelo and Breeze management, and chief pilots to come up with a plan, what we call a playbook in the FAA, where aircraft could be temporarily held on the airport in the movement areas awaiting space on the ramp. A plan of how many jets, for example, could be held on taxiway Charlie, or can you put one on taxiway Echo without disrupting air traffic? What other places on the airport could planes temporarily be held awaiting a gate? It should be outlined for all, especially the controllers, to know where these spots are so everyone is on the same page. So one person's gridlock is not different from another person's. If there's no plan, it could cause unnecessary drama. Anyway, thank you very much. Much love to the Southern Connecticut Regional Airport.
Thank you. Sandra Reiners, good afternoon. Name and
Good
address.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Sandra Reiners, 42 Stannard Avenue in Branford. And I have 3 points I'd like to make. I very much appreciate the opportunity that presented itself with the air traffic control manager and that meeting. However, most of my questions still remain unanswered regarding flight paths. I've submitted them to the airport, to Avports, to the authority and to Avports, and I do hope that they will be answered in the near term. They are, I think, important to many Branford residents, as well as residents to the north and south, east and west of the immediate runway. Point number 2, listening now to the EnviroSuite presentation, I was impressed by one fact in particular. It seems like the noise events register only when they are close to the noise monitors. As was mentioned, the circle goes from green or orange to red, depending upon the proximity. As I understand it, there are to be 2 mobile noise monitors, which would be on the perimeter, at least currently planned to be on the perimeter of the airport fence. So how is that going to register noise events that are further afield, even though these are mobile monitors? Will there be more? Will they be moved, etc.? One of the questions that I had was, on the weekend, with my handheld phone, was registering 90 max decibel levels, 95 this afternoon, 92 on the Raleigh-Durham departure over Branford. And the question that I have is, how would this system register that? What decibel level, what dBA would that equate to? And how are the noise monitors going to pick up the events and the impact in the flight paths? And that, I think, is a very important question that still is unanswered. Number 3, the economic impact study. If that has been already in its draft form presented to the board, will the board make that public, or only after the board reviews it, approves it, etc.? There were some issues that I had raised at the last meeting about export of money to the southern states. I wonder what the impact will be and whether the public will be able to view the report shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Catherine Bennett. Name and address, please.
Catherine Bennett, Thompson Avenue, East Haven, Connecticut. So I have 2 points I'd like to bring up today, and thank you for hearing me. One is with your big snow meeting. Did you discuss the possibility of upgrading the de-icing fluid recovery system that you have? There are much better ones out there that actually can collect a lot more of the de-icing fluid and even recycle and reuse it. My second one is the fuel farm issue. I was wondering if you had any updates about the proposed temporary fuel farm that you were discussing with the FAA. Cheryl Quain told me that it had to be considered a temporary fuel farm because it would be on a wetland. So I certainly am concerned about that, especially with the recent renewal of, extending for another 3 years your temporary buildings, and they're not flood proof. So I am concerned about a temporary fuel farm as well. And certainly I'm concerned about all of these fuel trucks going up and down the streets. And are you storing it in these fuel trucks over there, and they're not flood proof? And certainly you should be able to come up with a better solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's give it a minute. Lorena. Congrats. So, well, thank you. Good evening. Before you get started, I wanted to make sure that we recognize you for being recognized by the Connecticut Foundation for Open Government for your activism in East Haven. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. This is Lorena Venegas from East Haven. And thank you, Mr. Reed, for honoring that. And I do want to make sure that you know that the door is open to make sure that East Haven does talk again. I'm really worried that since the year 2021, our town really has not had any dialogue, true dialogue that should happen in these kinds of situations. And we need it. And I think your leadership can bring it about. My comment tonight is really about...
Take your address, please, just for the record. I'm sorry.
Sure, it's going to be 73 George Street.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And my comment tonight is directed to community engagement in the way that it should happen. So it doesn't happen when you ignore residents' emails and calls and try to characterize the people as complainers. You know, when you have a consultant who's creating noise databases that are able to do reporting, the burden is on you. The burden is not on the residents to report the problems. The burden is on you to make sure you have the solutions, because you're bringing in planes that were authorized even under the FONSI. We know that the Avelo Airlines letter's in there, that no 737-800 planes would be used. And then they used a roundabout way through FOIA that was discovered through a federal FOIA where a person in Florida of FAA approved that. without knowing the conditions here. I stand by everything I say, that we have air pollution, we have traffic concerns, we have the noise pollution, but it's not the burden of my residents sitting at their dining room table with their children to prove to you that noise at high decibel exists. That's faulty thinking. It's really faulty community engagement. And I want to go so far as say, you know, it's nice that you go for activities in Orange, but you are ignoring the residents in the immediate neighborhood. And we do functions, a lot of those people, they don't live here. And it's creating a government liability, which is called reverse NIMBYism, which people are saying, okay, the flights are great, I can go to Florida, but that's their problem. It's not my problem. And that's not the Connecticut that we live in, because we're intellectuals, we create business, we create dialogue. And it's not even the foundations of you as business and as a Yale University person and City of New Haven person knows. You know, a lot of the items on the agenda tonight were brought about because I told you they had to be brought about. The Title VI, I told you that had to be done. And now it's done. And we have to, like that, take baby steps towards really doing real community engagement. And I challenge, you right now have 4 staff persons that are trying to do PR and FOIAs, but we need to really, you know, work with the community here because we have a lot of mistrust. And the greatest mistrust started from Andrew King and the $8,700 noise insulation voucher that has to be debunked as soon as possible. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Good evening. Tony Rente, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone, one and all. Thank you for the chance to speak. Tony Laurenti, Meriden, Connecticut, employee of an undisclosed airline, Airbus 220 operator. Looking forward to Tweed's future. Looking forward to being educated in regards to the last speaker. Congratulations on the award to someone who has publicly stated Tweed New Haven Airport does not have fire trucks, yet there's pollution from PFAS, from the foam that comes from fire apparatus that do not exist. Perpetuating lies, rumors about illegal aircraft, and more importantly, the rampant doublespeak, incoherent use of terminology, FONSI, FOIA, EA, things that to a person of knowledge are not sensible. So that being said, kind of getting off on a different tangent here, I wanted to welcome the flight tracking data that will soon come. We will then, of course, have quantifiable, verifiable data, and we can compare that data to the work of various citizen scientists. And I look forward to seeing how that information is going to evolve and what will be done as a result of ultimately what we already know. My suspicion is that excellent product, which I certainly would just enjoy spectating, will certainly not be adequate enough, but let's hope that it is. Regarding a previous caller, regarding prevention of problems, I would certainly advocate and echo those concerns. Go Tweed, make it better than it is by preventing potential issues in the future. I would encourage future roundtable discussions with the various stakeholders that partake in Tweed's daily operations so that we can all be on the same page to the benefit of the community, and that our operational problems, which are just a simple fact of the industry itself, will not impact the residents in a negative way. And in regards to that, we'll hold back laughter here, but a pilot can be a community activist and a resource. As I've said many times, pilots operate first and foremost with safety in mind. That's to everyone's benefit, and that includes community members. Pilots don't want to sit on tarmacs waiting for gates, running their engines. expending fuel. We want to be usually home, if I may say so. So we want the airport to work well and efficiently, and I hope to be involved through my involvement with the Airline Pilots Association safety representative to make the airport work well so that benefits the community. So again, in closing, I would hope that the community could see a pilot group as a resource for some of their needs and actually, dare I say, benefit some of their interests as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. Another minute. Okay, our queue is empty. Is that correct, Felipe? Correct. Bring everyone up. Great. All right, the queue is empty. Public comments are now closed. With that said, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that.
Michael, second. Second, Linda. Thank you all for attending. Have a great evening.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yep.